Have you ever sat there knowing exactly what you should be doing and still did nothing? That quiet moment hits harder than failure, because it's not that you don't understand. It's not that you don't have goals. It's not even that you don't care. The truth is more uncomfortable. You feel stuck in a space where your mind is active, but your body refuses to move. And in that gap, something dangerous begins to grow. Excuses. They sound calm, logical, even protective. You're tired. You'll do it later. Today isn't the right day. And the worst part is they feel true. They don't feel like lies. They feel like permission. But deep down, you know what's really happening. You're waiting. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting to feel motivated. Waiting for a surge of energy that will suddenly make everything easy. And while you wait, time moves. Opportunities pass. Confidence fades. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to doubt yourself. Not because you can't do it, but because you keep not doing it. This is where most people lose their future. Not in one big failure, but in small daily delays. In moments where action was possible, but comfort was chosen. In seconds where discipline was needed, but emotion took control. And now you feel it, that quiet frustration. That weight of knowing you could be more, but you're not moving. That inner voice asking, "What's wrong with me?" Nothing is wrong with you. You've just been taught the wrong order. You've been taught that motivation comes first. That you need to feel something before you act. But the truth is the opposite. Action comes first. Always. Your brain does not reward intention. It rewards movement. When you sit and wait, your energy drops. When you hesitate, your mind becomes heavier. When you delay, your confidence weakens. But the moment you move even slightly, something shifts. Your focus sharpens, your energy rises, your control returns. This is not theory. This is how you are wired, and once you understand this, everything changes, because now you don't need motivation. You need a decision, a simple, powerful decision to act without waiting for the perfect feeling. This is where Gaman begins. Gaman is not loud. It does not depend on hype or emotion. It is quiet strength. It is the ability to continue when your mind resists. When your body feels heavy, when nothing inside you wants to move, it is choosing action in silence. It is stepping forward when everything tells you to stay still. Right now, you may feel behind. You may feel like you've wasted time. You may feel like you've lost your edge. But none of that defines you. What defines you is what you do next. Not later, not tomorrow, now. Because the moment you act without motivation, you break the pattern. The moment you ignore excuses, you take control. And the moment you embrace Gaman, you become dangerous to your own limits. Stay here, stay locked in. Because what you're about to understand will change the way you see effort, discipline, and yourself forever. And once you see it, you won't be able to go back. And once you feel that shift, something inside you begins to wake up. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, steadily, like a force that no longer needs permission to exist. Because now you understand something most people never do. Discipline is not about intensity. It is not about pushing yourself to extremes or forcing bursts of energy that disappear as quickly as they come. Real discipline is calm. It is controlled. It is consistent. It does not depend on how you feel. It depends on what you decide. This is where people get it wrong. They chase emotional highs. They wait for that perfect moment when everything aligns, when motivation floods in and makes action feel easy. But those moments are rare, and worse, they are unreliable. If your progress depends on how you feel, your progress will always be unstable. Feelings change, decisions don't have to. Gaman is built on that difference. It is the ability to act without needing emotional support, to move without needing excitement, to continue without needing reassurance. And when you operate from that place, you stop being controlled by your mood. You start controlling your direction. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Your mind will resist. It will try to pull you back into old patterns. It will suggest rest when you don't need it. It will create distractions. It will question your effort. This is not weakness. This is conditioning. Your brain is used to comfort. But every time you act anyway, you begin to rewire that pattern. You send a signal that says, "I don't stop when it's hard. I move when it matters." And that signal, repeated daily, becomes something powerful. It becomes identity, not something you say, something you prove. Each small action becomes evidence. Each completed task becomes a message. You are no longer someone who waits. You are someone who executes. You are no longer someone who hesitates. You are someone who follows through. And slowly that identity replaces the old one. This is how confidence is truly built, not from winning, not from perfection, but from consistency. From keeping the promises you make to yourself, especially on the days when it would be easier to break them. That is where self-respect is formed, not in comfort, in effort. You don't need to do something massive. You don't need to change everything overnight. What matters is that you do something, no matter how small, and you do it every day without negotiation. Because repetition is what makes it real. The more you repeat an action, the less resistance it creates. The less resistance it creates, the easier it becomes. And the easier it becomes, the more consistent you get. This is how discipline compounds, silently, gradually, relentlessly. While others are waiting to feel ready, you are already moving. While others are making excuses, you are building proof. And while others are starting and stopping, you are continuing. That difference may seem small right now, but over time it becomes everything. Because consistency creates separation. It builds a gap between who you used to be and who you are becoming. And once that gap is wide enough, there is no going back. You no longer recognize the version of yourself that waited for motivation. You become the version that creates results. And it all starts with one simple rule. No matter how you feel, you move. No matter how slow it is, you continue. No matter how uncomfortable it gets, you do not stop. That is Gaman, and once you lock into that rhythm, nothing can break you. And the moment you realize that nothing can break you, something even deeper becomes clear. What used to stop you was never the work, it was the conversation happening inside your own mind. That constant stream of reasons, those quiet justifications, that automatic hesitation that shows up right before you take action, it feels natural, it feels like thinking. But it's not guiding you forward, it's holding you in place. Excuses are not random, they are patterns. Learned responses your brain uses to protect you from discomfort. They show up instantly without effort because they've been repeated so many times. And the more you listen to them, the stronger they become. I don't have enough time. I'm not ready yet. I'll start when I feel better. These words are not facts. They are shields. They exist to keep you safe, not to make you better. And every time you accept them, you reinforce the same cycle. You pause, you delay, you feel a small sense of relief in the moment, but later that relief turns into something heavier, regret. Because deep down you know you had a choice, and you chose comfort. That choice, repeated again and again, builds a loop where action feels harder each time and excuses feel more convincing. A loop where your standards drop, your energy fades, and your belief in yourself slowly weakens. This is how people stay stuck without even realizing it, not because they can't move, but because they've trained themselves not to. Breaking this loop is not about arguing with your thoughts. You don't need to win a debate in your head. You don't need to prove your excuses wrong. That only keeps you stuck in the same cycle. You need to ignore them completely. Because Gaman does not negotiate. It does not pause to analyze every feeling. It does not wait for mental clarity. It acts before the excuse has time to grow. That is the difference. You don't give the excuse time to breathe. You move instantly before doubt builds, before hesitation spreads. Before your mind pulls you back into comfort. This is where real control is built, not by eliminating negative thoughts, but by refusing to let them decide your behavior. Your mind may say stop. Your body still moves, your thoughts may create resistance, your actions break through it. And once you start doing this consistently, something powerful begins to happen. The excuses don't disappear, but they lose authority. They become background noise instead of commands. They speak, but you don't listen. Because now your actions are louder than your thoughts. This is the shift most people never reach. They try to feel confident before they act, but confidence is not the starting point. It is the result. It comes after repeated proof that you can act despite resistance. Every time you move without listening to an excuse, you build that proof. You strengthen your control. You send a message that says, I decide what happens next. And that message changes everything. Because control is not about controlling your thoughts. It is about controlling your response. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need to feel ready. You need to act, again and again, until action becomes your default. Until hesitation no longer feels natural. Until excuses no longer slow you down. That is when the loop breaks, and once it's broken, you don't go back to who you were. You move forward as someone who no longer waits, no longer negotiates, and no longer stops when it matters most. And when that shift locks in, when excuses lose their control and action becomes your response, something powerful begins to build beneath the surface. Momentum, not loud, not dramatic, but undeniable. It starts small, almost invisible. A single action taken without hesitation, then another, then another. At first it feels like effort, it feels like you're forcing yourself forward. But what you don't see yet is what's forming underneath that effort. A pattern, a rhythm, a new standard. Most people underestimate this stage because it doesn't feel like success. There is no instant reward, no immediate transformation, just repetition, just showing up again and again when it would be easier not to, and this is exactly where most people stop. Because they don't see results fast enough, because they mistake silence for failure, because they don't understand that momentum is being built, even when nothing feels different. But if you stay with it, if you continue without breaking that rhythm, something shifts. The same actions that once felt heavy begin to feel normal. The same resistance that once slowed you down begins to fade, and the same effort that once drained you begins to energize you. This is the turning point. This is where consistency starts to pay back. Because momentum is not about speed. It is about continuity. It is about not stopping. The power is not in how fast you move, but in the fact that you keep moving. Every day you continue, you reduce the chance of going back. Every action you repeat, you make it easier to repeat again. And slowly, without realizing it, you remove the need to decide. Action becomes automatic. This is where discipline transforms into habit, and habits are dangerous in the best way. They remove resistance. They eliminate overthinking. They carry you forward even when your energy is low, even when your mood is off, even when everything feels difficult. Because now you don't rely on motivation. You rely on what you've built. This is why Gaman is so powerful. It forces you to continue long enough for momentum to take over. It keeps you moving through the phase where most people quit. It anchors you in consistency until consistency becomes part of who you are. And once momentum is on your side, everything changes. Progress becomes visible. Confidence becomes real. Your identity becomes solid. You are no longer guessing. You are no longer hoping. You are no longer waiting for something to happen. You are creating it. And the most powerful part is this: you don't need to do more. You need to stop stopping. That's it. The biggest threat to your growth has never been difficulty. It has always been interruption. Starting, then stopping. Pushing, then quitting. Moving, then falling back into old patterns. Momentum dies in those gaps. But when you remove those gaps, when you refuse to break the chain, when you commit to continuing no matter what, momentum becomes unstoppable. It carries you through doubt. It carries you through fatigue. It carries you through the days when nothing feels right, because now you are not starting over, you are continuing forward. And that is a completely different position to be in. Because once you reach this level, once movement becomes your default, it becomes harder to stop than to continue. And that is when you realize something most people never experience. You are no longer chasing progress, you are living it. And when you reach that point, when progress is no longer something you chase but something you live, the game changes completely. It stops being about what you achieve and it becomes about who you are. Because results can come and go, but identity stays. This is where everything becomes permanent. You are no longer someone who acts only when it's easy. You are no longer someone who waits for the right mood. You are no longer someone who negotiates with discomfort. You have stepped into a version of yourself that operates on a different standard. A standard that does not bend. A standard that does not depend on emotion. A standard that holds even when everything feels heavy. This is the true meaning of Gaman, not just enduring pain but mastering your response to it. Not just continuing when it's hard, but choosing to continue as a rule. It becomes automatic. It becomes your default setting. And when that happens, you unlock a level of stability most people never reach. Because now nothing external controls you, not your mood, not your environment, not your circumstances. You move because that's who you are, and that identity changes everything. It removes fear, not because fear disappears, but because it loses its influence. You stop asking, "What if this goes wrong?" and start proving, "I will handle whatever comes." You stop doubting your ability and start trusting your process. That trust is built through repetition. through showing up again and again, especially when it would be easier not to. This is where real self-respect is born, not from what you say, not from what you plan, but from what you do consistently without fail. Every time you act when you don't feel like it, you strengthen that respect. Every time you continue when it's uncomfortable, you deepen that identity. And over time, it becomes unshakable. You don't need validation, you don't need approval, you don't need recognition, because you know what you're capable of, you know what you've built. And you know that you won't stop. This is what separates those who transform their lives from those who stay in the same place. It's not intelligence, it's not talent, it's not luck. It's the ability to keep going long after the excitement fades. Relentlessly, quietly, without excuses, because success is not created in moments of high energy. It is created in moments of resistance, in the moments when your mind says stop, but your standards say move, in the moments when no one is watching but you still show up. That is where your future is decided, not once but daily. And every time you choose to continue, you reinforce the same truth. You are not weak, you are not lazy, you are not stuck. You are someone who moves forward no matter what. This is no longer about motivation. It is no longer about finding reasons. It is about living a principle. No motivation, no excuses, only Gaman. And once you fully step into that, there is no version of your past that can pull you back. There is only one direction left, forward, and forward is not just a direction anymore. It is a commitment you carry into every moment, every decision, every breath you take when things feel heavy. Because now you understand something deeper than motivation, deeper than discipline, deeper even than momentum. You understand responsibility. Not the kind that feels like pressure, but the kind that gives you power. The realization that your life is shaped by what you choose to do when it's hard. That your future is not waiting for the perfect moment, but being built in the moments you want to avoid. This is where everything becomes real. There is no more hiding behind feelings. No more waiting for clarity. No more pretending that tomorrow will be different if today stays the same. You see it clearly now. Every delay has a cost. Every excuse has a consequence. Every moment you choose comfort over growth pushes your potential further away, and at the same time, every action pulls it closer. This awareness is sharp. It cuts through illusion. It removes the softness that once allowed you to drift, and in its place it builds something solid. Standards that don't change based on your mood. Standards that don't lower when things get difficult. Standards that define how you show up, no matter what. This is what makes you dangerous to your old habits. Because once your standards rise, your tolerance for excuses disappears. You no longer accept delay as normal. You no longer accept inconsistency as harmless. You begin to see every small action as a reflection of who you are becoming, and that awareness changes how you move. You stop thinking in terms of, do I feel like it? You start thinking in terms of, this is what I do. That shift is everything. Because when behavior becomes tied to identity, it becomes non-negotiable. It becomes automatic. It becomes something you protect no matter the cost. This is how you build a life that does not collapse under pressure. You don't rely on bursts of energy. You rely on standards that hold. And when those standards are built through Gaman, they don't break, they don't fade. They don't disappear when things get uncomfortable. They get stronger. Pressure no longer stops you. It sharpens you. Fatigue no longer weakens you. It tests you. Doubt no longer controls you. It challenges you. And every time you respond by continuing, you reinforce the same truth again and again. Nothing can take this from you because you earned it through effort, through consistency, through refusing to stop when it would have been easy to quit. This is where real transformation lives. Not in what people see, but in what you prove to yourself daily. The quiet victories, the unseen discipline, the moments where you choose growth over comfort without needing recognition. That is where your power comes from, and once you build that power, it stays with you. It follows you into every challenge. It supports you in every setback. It drives you forward when everything else tries to slow you down, because now your foundation is different. It is not built on motivation. It is not built on emotion. It is built on something far stronger, a decision you keep honoring, again and again, no matter what, and as long as you keep honoring that decision, there is no limit to how far you can go. Because you are no longer waiting for change. You are creating it, relentlessly, silently, with no motivation, no excuses, only Gaman.